past I've made with the Sefer Yetzirah, and
We're about to go live.
Okay.
You know, it's fine. It's a good conversation, actually. It's a meaningful conversation. Okay, here we are. So I'm going to start chapter 5, which is a very important chapter. And Rabbi Yossi, I think I don't know that I have the answer, but I think chapter 5, in my opinion, is the most practical part of the book. Again, I said I recognize that there's some shortcomings in that statement, because chapter 5 is problematic for people who don't believe in astrology. We had a whole conversation about that last week. So then the question is, if the most significant practical part of Sefer Yetzirah is not for everyone, I guess that's the answer. It's not for everyone. But the question is, can we get something out of it, even if it's not 100%? You know, like even if you don't say, "Oh, I love this stuff. I want to do all this stuff." Okay. Let's see. Okay, let's get started. So does everybody have page 197?
Yep.
Okay. So it's chapter 5. So the first Mishnah says, "Shtei Meseh Pshutot." These are the 12 elemental letters. As you remember, the last 2 chapters dealt with the 7 doubles. And the basic difference between the 7 doubles and the 12 elementals are the doubles are like they are implicit in the name. Doubles, they're pronounced in 2 different ways, as opposed to elementals, which are only pronounced in one way, which are the following letters. Hey, which of course, remember, Hey is the only letter in God's name that appears twice in the Yud K Vav K. And that'll be significant. The Vav, which does also appear in once in the Yud K Vav K. Zion, Ches, Chet, Tes, Tet, Yud, Lamed, and Yud, of course, appears as the first letter in the Yud K, in the 4-letter name of God. Nun, Samach, Ayin, Tzadik, Kuf. That's 12. Their foundation is, now we're going to go through 12 processes that happen within a person, either internally or externally. Speech, thought, motion, sight, hearing, action, coition, smell, sleep, anger, taste or swallowing, and laughter. That's 12. Okay, we're just going to keep going rather than kind of stopping here. The premise is that we're about to embark on an analysis of the 12 months and relate these letters, these elemental letters, as well as these processes, the foundations of these letters, the speech, thought, motion, sight, hearing, etc., to a direction and a month. And then, of course, to the 12 ways of formulating the 4-letter name of God, the 12 constellations, the 12 months, the 12 parts of the body that we're going to learn about a little bit later. So we're going to make all these combinations, but the only way to do that is to go further. Okay. So we'll come back and reference some of these things as we go further. Mishnah 2. Page 203. Shtaimes pshutot, these 12 elemental letters, which are again, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Tes, Tes, Yud, Lamed, Nun, Samach, Ayin, Tzadik, Kuf. Yesodan Shneim Asa Gvule Alachson. Their foundation is the 12 diagonal boundaries. The best way to understand that is the 12 corners of a cube. It's not the only way to understand it, but that is the easiest way. And then it goes and enumerates. Gvul Mizrachit, the east. Romit, upper boundary. And then Gvul Mizrachit Tzfonit, the east northern boundary. Gvul Mizrachit Tachtonit, the east lower boundary. Gvul Dromit, the south Romit upper boundary. Gvul Dromit Mizrachit, the southeastern boundary. Gvul Dromit Tachtit, the south lower boundary. Gvul Ma'aravit Romit, the west upper boundary. Gvul Ma'aravit Dromit, the west southern boundary. Gvul Ma'aravit Tachtit, the west lower boundary. Gvul Tzfonit Romit, the north upper boundary. Gvul Tzfonit Ma'aravit, the northwestern boundary. Gvul Tzfonit Tachtit, the north lower boundary. Misrachvin b'holchin ad adei ad, the hein gvulot olam, and they expand and they keep going until forever and ever of the boundaries of the universe. Okay. So if you look on page 204, the R.A. Kaplan, he has the letters matching it up on all the way on the left-hand side, right? The 12 elemental letters, Hey, starting with Hey, concluding with Kuf, in order of the 12 letters. And in the Gra version, east, south, west, north. Now notice it's only 3. 3, 3, 3, 3. There's different ways to get to the 12, but that's one way, is if you have 3 times 4, you have 12. And then that corresponds to, on the second from the right, 12 different ways to formulate the letters of the Yud Ke Vav Ke. And that corresponds to the tribes Yehuda, Yisachar, Zvulun, Reuven, Shimon, Gad, Yosef, Levi, Benjamin, Dan, Asher, Naftali. That is the way the tribes, we'll talk about the tribes in a moment. Now you have to understand, to the Vilna Gaon, let's talk about the Vilna Gaon and the tribes and the directions, why that's important. It's been pointed out that the tribes never appear in the same order in the Torah. There's always a different order. And one important teaching of that is because it wants to make clear that who's the highest of the tribes is still a mystery. Who's the lowest of the tribes is still a mystery. So by constantly reshuffling the order of the tribes, the mystery remains. But
Rabbi,
what?
We had the gentleman who came in and spoke about the Yetzirah Rabbi. He wrote a book, and he said that there were 16 variations of the tribes, and he said that the Yetzirah Rabbi lined them up to the 16 expressions of love at the end of the Shema, where you go MS all the way to Yafeh, which are 16 in number.
There is a beautiful Ishbitzer teaching on this. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But because there's no consistency of whether it's the way they were born, the way they were blessed by Jacob, the way they were ordered in the end of the book of Genesis, or in Exodus, or various places. So when we're going to say that the 12 months correspond to the 12 tribes, which order? Is it the birth order? Not necessarily. Is it the order that we encounter towards the end when they go down to Egypt? Is it the order when, as the Vilna Gaon suggests and others, of how they when the encampment would travel, there was an arrangement of east and so on of how the various tribes encircled the encampment, and based on that order, how they would travel, who would lead. So Judah was the leader. So the way it works is under one banner that flew, there would be 3 tribes, east, and so forth. So according to the Vilna Gaon, if you look on page 200 in figure 47, the tribes in the desert, which is how the Vilna Gaon understands the tribes here, the orders of the month based on the tribes in the desert, it would start with Judah, who's to the east, Judah, Yisachar, Zvulun, and then it would continue with Reuben, Shimon, and Gad, who were to the north, actually no, to the south. And then Ephraim and Manasseh and Benjamin were to the west. And then finally, Dan, Asher, and last but not least, Naftali, who's to the north. So in that sense, there's a nice parallel to connect this idea of this cube, so to speak, with the dimensions, directions, that they exist in space and yet they have some infinite quality, to the idea of where the tribes that where they exist as a parallel to heaven on earth, and how that will connect to the month and the zodiac and so on. So that's going to run through. By the way, these debates until today, there's like 3 major opinions of how to order the tribes in the Sefer Yetzirah. So it's like you can have If you want to know what the tribe is, it's according to the Ravid, according to the Vilna Gaon, according to the Ari. Which rabbi are you following? And what's great about that is that based on the permutations that are available to us, the meaning becomes to some degree more fluid because there's so many interpretations. But then again, that creates more room to interpret. So it becomes like Torah. It's not like a concrete, like this is your month, this is your tribe, this is your zodiac, this is your action. It's that, or maybe not, or what's the the whole idea of Torah, especially in Ishbitz, is the idea of the permutation, where there's the ability to transform yourself by not being the same way. Like anytime you say, I am this, you're against Torah, meaning I am a very stubborn person. No, I deal with stubbornness. I struggle with stubbornness. I am angry. I'm an angry person. No, I'm a person who gets angry that I have to deal with my anger and overcome my anger. To just see yourself as that attribute, some unflattering attribute that you happen to struggle with, and identify yourself with it, that's not Torah. Torah, according to Ishbitz, is the ability to weigh a situation and to overcome what you might think is your predispensation. So perhaps you could understand these chilukim, these conversations about the variety of how to interpret this one thing in terms of the tribes creates an openness within this system. So it's not really a closed system. Mishnah 3, page 209. Those 12 elemental letters. Hey, Vav, Zayin, Ches, Tes, Yud, Lamed, Nun, Samach, Ayin, Tzadikov. Yisodan, Chakikan, Chatzvan, Tzarfan, Shaklan, V'Hamiran. The same type of expression. Engrave, carve, permuted, weigh, transform them. I'm translating it from the Kaplan. And with them he formed. Tzarbehem. Shnei Maser Mazalot Ba'olam. 12 constellations in the world, in the universe. Shnei Maser Chadashim B'Shana. 12 months in the year. So we have time and space. We all understand that time and space are in relationship, are actually, I don't want to say the same thing, but they're don't exist without each other. But 12 directors in the soul of the male and the female. So again, what we have here is all of these things that these letters contain spell themselves out in Olam, Shana, and Nefesh, and time, space, and self. So let's start with the mazel. Let's start with the mazalot, with the zodiac signs in Mishnah 4. Shnei Maser Mazalot Ba'olam. There are 12 zodiac signs in space, in the world. Tleh, the constellation that we call Aries, or the ram. Shor, Taurus, or the bull. Tu'umim, Gemini, or twins. Sartan, Cancer, or the crab. Aryeh, Leo, lion. Besula, Virgo, virgin. Maznaim, Libra, scales. Akrev, Scorpio, scorpion. Keshes, Sagittarius, archer. Gedi, Capricorn, kid. Dali, Aquarius, water drawer. Dagim, Pisces, fish. Okay, so we got these 12 zodiac signs. Okay. In table 47, for those who are not familiar with the Jewish year, how it falls out, after the month, it gives its equivalent like Nisan, March, April, Iyar, April, May, etc. But then what's interesting is in AB signs, angels, A and B are names of angels. And the sign is the zodiac sign. And again, angel is angel. So obviously we already know it's going to state it out, like out and out, but just to give you a little bit of a feeling, Nisan, the first month, is Aries, and Iyar, Taurus, Sivan, Gemini, Tammuz, Cancer, Av, Leo, El, Virgo, and so on. So with that, we go on to Mishnah 5 on page 211. Shnei Masech Hadashim B'Shana, there are 12 months in the year. What are they? Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, Av, Elul, Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev, Teves, Shvat, Adar. We all know that in the Torah, in the Bible, it says, Achodesh Azelachem, Rosh Chodeshim. This month, it's talking about the month of Nisan that Passover falls out on, is the first of the month. We also know that we call Rosh Hashanah on Tishrei, which is 7th month. We call it the head of the year. And it's troubled the rabbis, and they deal with it extensively. Why is Rosh Hashanah not on the first of Nisan? There's actually a debate in the Talmud about that. But that's how it is. So confusing it is, but yet Nisan is the first of the months. And the last of the months, therefore, is Adar. So we now continue on Mishnah 6, page 212. 12 directors in the soul, male and female. Shtei yadayim, shtei raglayim, shtei klayot, mara dakin, kaved, kurkaman, kava, and chul, keva and chul. The 12 directors of the soul are as follows in the male and female: the 2 hands, the 2 feet, the 2 kidneys, the gallbladder, the intestines, the liver, the korkaban. Notice he's not translating it because it's conversation of what that actually is. The kiva, same thing there, and the spleen. Just quickly, there's a little bit of a discussion about the intestines, because dakin could mean the small intestine, but it could include the large intestine or colon. But if we look at the next thing, the korkaban, in the Kaplan notes, he says it's often used to denote the gizzard and fowl. The Talmud and the Medrash, however, this term is occasionally, if rarely, used to denote a human organ, usually identified with the grinding of food, so some part of the stomach. The Zohar clearly identifies korkaban as the stomach, and this opinion is shared almost universally by all later Kabbalists. Other commentaries identify the korkaban with various different internal organs. Some say that it's the esophagus, others say that it is the small intestine, and so on. That's why we use the word korkaban, because we're not exactly sure. The kiva, it's an organ usually associated with animals and ruminants. It's the 4th stomach, known as the maw. Okay. More than we need to know, and still not enough. Let's do Mishnah 7. Himlich os he besicha, the kasher lo keser v'tzarfen ze b'zev v'tzar behem tle ba'olam v'nisa b'shana v'regel yimin b'nefesh zachar nekeva. He made the letter Hey king over speech, and he bound a crown to it. He combined one with another, and with it he formed Aries in the universe, Nisan in the year, and the right foot in the soul, male and female. So, for example, if we look at Aries, part of what we want to do when we're learning the Sefer Yetzirah is we want to combine the traditional signs of the zodiac with the Mesorah of Torah and look at how Torah could fit into the zodiac, not in a way that makes the Torah subservient to the zodiac. On the contrary, to take the zodiac and make it part of Torah, because that's kind of the only way to reconcile the learning and understanding of the Sefer Yetzirah with those of us who don't want to practice astrology, is to learn the Sefer Yetzirah as part of Torah. How could you do that? So I'm going to show you. Everyone knows, for example, based on sources like the Rambam and the Ramban and other sources, that the Egyptians worshipped animals in general, and specifically they worshipped Aries, because you could identify the power of the Nile as beginning to fill up to, or maybe more than just beginning, but being at its height of spring, being full from the mountains that have fed into it during the course of the rainy season of the winter, that it now grants Egypt the power of the resource that at that time was unparalleled in the world, made them the superpower. So if that's identified with the zodiac symbol of Aries, which is a ram, so then that would make the ram, or the lamb for that matter, a god in Egypt, which it did. So part of the first mitzvah they did in Egypt is to take the paschal lamb, it's a ram, baby little ram, tie it to their doorposts. And the Medrash talks extensively about this, where the Egyptians said, "What are you doing to these rams, these lambs?" They said, "Zevach Pesach Hashem. This is going to be an offering to our God, who's going to take us out of Egypt. He's going to kill the firstborn Egyptians." And that started a civil war in Egypt between the firstborn, who demanded from Pharaoh that he release the Jews, and Pharaoh, who refused to do that. That's what the meaning of Lamakim Mitzrayim Bivchorehem. He struck Egypt through the internal civil war between them and their firstborn. But how does that civil war begin? It begins by taking down the false ideology of the power that comes from Aries, that comes from the river, and so on. So that means when we say the month of Nisan is the month of Aries, it means that we're taking that and we're reappropriating it into the Achdus Habara, into the oneness of the unity of the Creator. So we're taking all the power of the Nile, we're taking all the power of spring, we're taking all the power of Aries, but we're also offering it up as an offering on the altar. Or in that time, they didn't have an altar; they had the doorposts to signify the thing that's stronger than that, the one God.
There's a nice Zohar in Yetzirah on Gemini and why the Torah is given in Gemini. That it's given written and oral, and it has other reasons too why the Torah comes in the sign of the twins, and it does something similar there.
Great. So let's just go straight into what Zev said, but let me make the bridge between what I said and what Zev said, so we're all like going together. What's the next month? The next month is the zodiac sign of Iyar. We're in Iyar now.
Taurus.
Taurus. What's Taurus? bull. What is a bull? A bull
The-
market. What is that? An individual.
The egel.
Could be the ego, but it could also be the emboldening of the spirit of whether it's beruchnius or begashmi, spiritually or physically, to manifest your own kind of identity, your individualism, your rugged individualism. What do we do? What mitzvah did we do in ER? We have a mitzvah every night of the Omer to count the Omer. We make a bracha every night. Because we're doing a tikkun on ourselves. We're getting ready. But what happens? So we got out of Egypt. That was a gift from above. We did an act of self-sacrifice. We broke away from our oppressor. We broke away from that ideology. But then we go out and we start doing the avoda. We start doing the tikkun amidot, the work on the midot. And what happens when we finish in the next month? That's where we get to what Zev was saying. We become twins, either because the Torah itself is Torah Shebachsav, Torah Shebal Peh, the written or oral Torah, or the Nigla and the Pnimiyut, the revealed and the hidden, or HaKadosh Baruch Hu and us, the two that became one, like twins. Meaning, when we did the work of Nisan and Iyar, we get to Sivan, we get to Gemini. So the point here is that we take the very zodiac signs and we find the symbolism of what that would mean in terms of our history in the Torah. Okay. So let's continue with that in mind. So then it says, Nisan of the year and the right foot in the soul, male and female. So if you took a look at the body, right foot in the soul, male and female, we say the following. Or speech. What was in exile? The Arizal is very into this idea that what was in exile in Egypt was the power of speech. We couldn't say what we wanted because we didn't have the freedom of speech. We didn't know how to pray. So what was the beginning of the freedom? Benitzak, we cried out to God. And God listened to our cries. So the beginning of the freedom is that we finally expressed ourselves, our fear, our frustration, our anguish, and that caused us to use our mouths to cry out. And what do we do on the night of the Seder, which is the epitome of the month of Nisan? Sipor Yetzias Mitzrayim. We elaborate, we talk endlessly, right? Rabbi Sina Agiyas Man Kriyash Moshe Shachris. We get so lost in the story that it's time to say the morning Shema. That's speech. And what's the right foot? Because what do we do? Right, we're the Mashiach is coming. What do? We move. We use our right foot, our best foot forward. We begin to go from Galut into Geulah. We move. We get out of Egypt. Okay. Now we're up to the next thing. We're still in Mishnah Zion. Mishnah 7. Okay. Himlich osbab behirhur v'kashal okatzer v'tzarpin zebezeh v'tzar behem shar ba'olam v'ir b'shana v'kuli yamanis b'nefesh zachar nekeva. He made the letter Vav king over thought, and he bound a crown to it, and he combined one with another, and with them he formed Taurus in the universe, Iyar in the year, and the right kidney in the soul of the male and female. So that's the month we're in now. We're in the month of Iyar, which we already talked a little bit about Taurus, and we talked the letter Vav. The letter Vav is traditionally associated with Tiferet and Zer Anpin, or Tita Emes Liakov, the idea of Mavriach min hakatza el hakatza, something that goes from the higher to the lower. And kidney, a lot of these body parts are understood by the commentators of the Sefer Yetzirah to be associated with different internal insights. We always think in the Western world as insights coming from the mind. Only the mind is the place of anything. Everything else is just a factory of different chemicals. I mean, the brain is also a factory of chemicals, but the fact is, it's like we created a Western dichotomy. They're only beginning now to talk about the wisdom of the body, and so on. So, okay. So the kidney is sometimes also a source of spiritual insight. Then we continue. Himlich ozayin behiluch. The kasher lekeser v'tzarpen zebezev v'tzar behem te'umin ba'olam sivam b'shana v'regel small b'nefesh zachan akeva. He made the letter Zayin king over motion. He bound a crown to it. He combined one with another. And with them, he formed Gemini in the universe, Sivan in the year, and the left foot in the soul, male and female. And we're going to just go straight into Mishnah 8. Himlich os ches beria. The kasher lo keser v'tzarpen zev v'tzar behem sartan ba'olam b'tamas b'shana v'yad yamin b'nefesh zachan akeva. He made the letter Ches king over sight. He bound a crown to it, and he combined one with another. And with them, he formed Cancer in the universe, Tammuz in the year, and the right hand in the soul, male and female. Himlichos tes b'shmiya v'kasher lekesef v'tzarfen zev v'zeh v'tzar behem aye ba'olam v'ab b'shana v'kuli smalas b'nefesh zachan akeva. He made the letter Tes, king over hearing, and he bound a crown to it. He combined one with another. And with them, he formed Leo in the universe, Av in the year, and the left kidney of the soul, male and female. Himlichos Yud b'maisa v'kasher l'kaser v'tzarfen zebezev v'tzar behem b'sula ba'olam b'el b'shana v'yad small b'nefesh zachar nekeva. He made the letter Yud, king over action. He bound a crown to it. And he combined one with another, and with it he formed Virgo in the universe, El in the year, and left hand in the soul, male and female. I just want to say that I don't have time to really explain it. I also feel like I did a lot of this. I did a series on most of these teachings. The Rosh Chodesh Institute. It's not based on the Sefer Yetzirah alone, but it's based on some of the commentaries on the Sefer Yetzirah that really unpack these things. So rather than just try to extract something, I should, but I'm not. I have a reason why I'm not. I'm basically, I can't really do it tonight because of some timing constraints, some important things that I have to deal with now. But I'm just encouraging everyone, go on to YouTube and look up Rosh Chodesh Institute and go to whichever month interests you and listen, and you'll hear insights into that given month. And a lot of it originates from the Sefer Yetzirah and the commentaries on it to really understand what is this left hand, what is the letter Yud here, what is the letter Tes, and also, of course, other things as well, such as the left kidney versus the right kidney, and the right hand versus the left hand, the symbols of each month and the Shvatim as well. So please do that. I'm not going to be able to do it justice right now. Let's do Mishnah 9. Himlichos lamed b'tashmish b'kesher lo keser b'tzarfen zeh b'zeh b'tzar behem maznayim ba'olam b'tisher b'shana umar b'nefesh zachar nekeva. It's the bottom of 216, and the translation is on 217. He made the letter lamed, king over coition. He bound a crown to it. He combined one with another, and with them he formed Libra in the universe, Tishrei in the year, and the gallbladder in the soul, male and female. Himlich os nun bereach. V'kasher lo keser v'tzarfen zebezev v'tzar behem akar b'olam b'cheshvan b'shana v'dakim v'nefesh zachar nekeva. He made the letter Nun king over smell, and he bound crown to it, and he combined one with another, and with them he formed Scorpio in the universe. Cheshvan in the ear, and the intestines, and the soul of the male and female. Like, for example, we say smell is the only sense that wasn't mentioned in the sin of the eating of the tree of knowledge. So it's Mashiach, we say, is Marach Vadayin. He's going to smell, and he's going to know how to judge based on smells. Some of the most mystical of the smells. Himlichos samach b'shina b'kasher lo keser v'tzarven zebezev v'tzar behem keshes b'olam v'kisle b'shana v'kiva b'nefesh zachar nekeva. He made the letter samach king over sleep, and we know sleep is great, especially in the winter, which is when Kislev is. He bound a crown to it, and he combined one with another, and with them he formed Sagittarius in the universe, Kislev in the year, and Kiva in the soul, male and female. We talked a little bit about what Kiva might be earlier. Now we go straight into Mishnah 10, the bottom of 217. Himlichos ayin birogez v'kasher lo keser v'tzarfen zebezev v'tzar behem gediba olam v'teves b'shana v'kaveh b'nefesh zachar nekeva. He made the letters ayin king over anger, and he bound a crown to it, and with it he combined one with another, and with it he formed Capricorn in the universe, Tevis in the year, and the liver in the soul, male and female. Him the chosadik v'leita v'kasher lekeser v'tzarfen zebezev v'tzar behem deliba olam v'shvat b'shana v'kurkuma b'nefesh zachar nekeva. He made the letter tzaddik king over taste. Who doesn't like that? He bound a crown to it, and he combined one with another, and with them he formed Aquarius of the universe, Shvat in the year, and Kurkuban in the soul, male and female. Okay. Now we're up to Kuf. Himlich os Kuf b'schok v'kasher lo keser v'tzarfen zebezev v'tzar behem dagim ba'olam ba'adar b'shana v'tchul b'nefesh zachar nekeva ason kimin areva sidon kimin chama archan kimin milchama. Again, very similar language to what we had earlier. He made the letter Kuf king over laughter. That makes sense because it's going to be in Adar. And he bound a crown to it, and he combined one with another, and with them he formed Pisces in the universe, Adar in the year, and spleen in the soul, male and female. He made them like a trowel. He arranged them like a wall. He set them up like a battle. There's some great, all of these things. Ari Kaplan, you know, to look at how these things line up, whether it's with the planets or with the thing in Koheles, like a time to kill, a time to be born, a version of that. That's on 222. And then we passed already earlier. For example, there's a great graph on 201 that has a bunch of circles, and the middle is Yud-K Vav-K, and then around it are the 12 constellations, and around and above that matching are the months, and above that are the correlating tribe, and above that are these 12 kind of things associated with astrology, like money and life and so on. And then above that are the 12 configurations of God's name. But that's a quick version of what I think, for me, in a sense, is the most applicable chapter of Sefer Yetzirah. I mean, it's not the chapter per se that is the most often quoted in terms of the Zohar or other books of Kabbalah that are not directly quoting, but indirectly kind of using terminology that first appeared in Sefer Yetzirah. It may not have that distinction, but it has this distinction of like, oh, like let's put this in, let's semi-practical. I say semi because I say to take it too seriously might be a mistake for us. But to leave it totally alone, we're missing out. So like I said, just go to my my stuff on the Rosh Chodesh Institute, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so we've got one more chapter.